Aviva Lebo with Vistage International, and you're listening to EA Interviews.
EA Interviews, episode 544.
Inspiration, transformation, success stories, and the Imperfect Action Round. 7 days a week. Join Mario Ficini for today's Expert Authority Effect interview.
I know you've heard about empowering leaders and what can you do to grow the business and take these courses to do different things, and we need to empower the teams and all of that. And it seems like everyone's saying that, but I am super excited because we have none other than Vistage Chair Aviva Lebo on today's episode. And we have someone who's actually credible working with the world's largest CEOs. And I want to dive in with her and figure out what is she doing differently, not just saying platitudinal things that sound good you might see on a flyer, but how are you actually making meaningful change in the lives of the biggest CEOs in the country? I'm going to bring her up right after we thank the sponsor, Aviva Lebo. Every business needs a book, including yours. And that's why I'm launching my new book to help you regardless of where you think your current writing abilities are. Visit eapublishingmethodbook.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Once again, that's eapublishingmethodbook.com. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Aviva Lebo. Aviva, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You're one of the few people I wanted to have on because there's so many people that really truly do. I mean, it seems like everyone and their brother is an AI expert, a leadership coach. It's like everyone repeats the same thing as everyone else, but you actually have the credibility and you've been doing this for so long, chair for Vistage, and you actually work with the world's largest CEOs. I mean, tell us, what are you doing different with them versus most people are doing or what they think they should be doing?
So I want to be honest. We work with most small to mid-sized business leaders because that's where the economy really is driven by. So I would say we work probably with the most impactful CEOs, but not necessarily the largest businesses.
Okay, well, I still feel like there's a lot of people who I don't know about you, but I've noticed in business there's a lot of people who inflate what they're doing just to look better, and it takes about 10 seconds to realize that, like, that's exactly what they're doing. So how do you differentiate and go, hey, this is a real legit business, we can help, that they are making an impact, they're not just there with fluff?
Yeah, so for me, that's honestly why when I put materials out there, or have my own podcast, things like that, it's all about real things and actions that people can take to do differently in their own leadership. We talk a lot about mindset. It's interesting. Many leaders, I come from the business world. I was a CEO myself. And one of the things that I realized is mindset is what's holding most people back, not strategy. And strategy, where it's holding you back, it's because you're not collaborating. It's because your ego's getting in the way. And so by spending time diving into the real truths behind what makes a great leader and exposing them to other people who are doing the same things so that they're not lonely at the top and they're really sharing experiences, that's how you get to the bottom of it. It's about the experiences. It's not about fluff or talk or fancy words or titles. It's about shared experience.
What are the best shared experiences you found in business?
Honestly, the peer groups I lead. I love what I do when I coach one-on-one, but the true aha moments that change businesses and change leaders happen in the peer group environment. You watch someone come with an idea, an issue, a challenge, something that's on their mind, and they throw it out there with different people with different backgrounds and different experiences in the room who've experienced different things. And there's no longer reinventing the wheel. They're one, hearing they're not alone. Two, they're hearing lots of ideas and solutions that they may not have thought of. And by the way, they're also figuring out what the real issue is. Leaders tend to, as strategic as they are, not take the time to live in the strategic. They get too caught in the day-to-day. And so when they stop and pause and put themselves in a peer group environment, they actually slow down enough to get to the real issues. And that's what they're solving for. And it's something that you just can't do on your own. You can't challenge yourself enough with outside thought and thinking to grow and learn and expand the ideas you have for your business.
What are some of the biggest issues you see that CEOs having, regardless if it's a small to mid-sized company, larger company? I'm sure there's a through line that you've noticed over the years.
Yes. So first of all, talent is one of the number one things. People don't know when to invest, how to invest in talent. They also don't know when to get rid of talent.
Mm.
And I hate to say that, but people hold on to people who are not a culture fit way too long. I process that issue with members over and over again, whether it be due to loyalty or care, or they helped get me here, but they're not going to get me to the next level. So most challenges, root cause is people or process, but I would say the majority of things that I see people deal with in group tie to people and talent, having the right people in the right seats at the right time.
Okay, so what's the answer to that? What's the solution to that?
Honestly, it ever evolves. So if you think you have the answer, what helped you today is probably not the solution for the next people challenge you have tomorrow. That's why it's great to have a group you can talk about the specific scenario with. Sometimes it's as simple as actually changing your mindset and belief around the person. If you label someone in a way that they're not going to be successful, they're likely not going to be successful, right? So you're setting them up to fail instead of setting proper expectations, telling them, I believe in you and I really think you can do it. And I can't wait to celebrate you coming back and having finished this project, right? At the same time, there's the tough conversation you must have when that's not the pattern and it's not your mindset and it's happening over and over. So each situation's unique and you really have to dive in to what's happening in that scenario. It's not about some great golden answer that I can give you that's applicable to everybody. It really depends on the situation and it's usually different every time.
I so appreciate the honesty, but that's unfortunate. I was hoping you did have a golden answer for me because I may know of some people right now that could use it.
The answer, if you want the golden answer, frankly, it's whether it's Vistage or something else, go find other people who have dealt with similar things and brainstorm with them.
Okay.
Dive deep into what the issue is, collaborate, and get their feedback because you're going to have that aha moment you can't have on your own. That's how you decide. It's not about one answer as to what to do in any given situation. It's about figuring out the best way to explore the situation and using peers to collaborate with.
And it sounds like that could be through some additional training for the team, for the staff, for the employees, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when it's within companies and leadership teams, I highly suggest companies put cohorts together for learning within the company. I also suggest that they invest, especially in their key talent, in peer groups like Vistage offers. For key executives, they have ones for mid-level managers. It's really good to get outside perspectives outside of your company, right? Your company
Sure.
only knows what it knows. And you don't see things that others see from different industries. I'll give a really good example. I have a member who has immense seasonality in her business, just is. And I could tell you she's written that off for years of that's just the way my industry works. So I'm not going to worry about evening out the seasonality. There's nothing I can do about it. So there's months where my revenue tanks and there's months where my revenue is crazy. And you put that in front of a group of people through them doing a presentation about their business, and the others aren't willing to accept that. They challenge that person over and over and going, are you sure? What about all these alternative things you could do? Maybe you could do something different with your workforce, or maybe there's a different segment you could go in. And just that conversation alone, I've seen it for one particular member who had that problem, no longer has seasonality in her business because she found alternate streams and ways to pivot. And by the way, had she not joined a group and gotten challenged, that would have never happened because she wrote it off long ago that seasonality exists in my industry. So it takes people from different companies, different backgrounds, different industries to see things you just can't see on your own. The blind spots we all have.
Yes, the blind spots. And you mentioned something earlier that I think is a good segue into it. You said the ego. How often does that screw up everything, I guess I should say?
It does it a lot for leaders. I think, and it's a confidence thing, I think, actually, most of the time, right? You have to look like you're the best in the room, you're the smartest in the room. If you can't check your ego at the door, by the way, you're not fit for one of my groups. I will gladly, first of all, there's an extensive interview process to get into one of my groups. And if you make it past that, and then I see you can't take feedback from others and your ego's still too big, I will ask you to leave. I hold true to what I tell people they should do with people in their company. If they're not a culture fit for what the company is about or what my group is about, then, they shouldn't be there.
Good for you.
It takes down the high performance level of everybody in the group. So ego is a hard one. And I hate to say it, but leaders with ego cap themselves and they cap their businesses. They will never grow past the point of their own knowledge and experience. Leaders that don't have ego can grow it way past their own knowledge and experience because they'll surround themselves with others who know way more things than they do.
How can you tell the difference?
So if I am talking to a leader in an interview and they can't tell me about the things they wish they had done different, if I ask them about bad decisions they made in the past 6 months and they're like, I really don't know of any, and they can't think off the top of their head of 5 or 6 bad decisions they've made, they got a big ego, right? So honestly, there's just a series of easy questions you can ask and you can pretty quickly tell.
Do most people, I would think you catch them at the door, but is it a small percentage that have gotten past the door and then you have to kick them out?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've learned my lesson on that a couple of times. Part of that probably comes from me believing in people a little bit more than, wanting to see that they're coachable, really wanting to help them.
You want the
and
best
I see
for
them
them.
maybe teetering on the line and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to try it this time. Right. And sometimes I find out that they're actually very coachable. I have a great example of where someone was really not vulnerable at first, and through coaching now is one of my most vulnerable members, will go in and open up about anything, the deepest, hardest things that they're facing. And I have another example where I eventually had to let someone leave a group because frankly, they were the smartest person in the room and they never got past that. So there's times where it's a toss up, right? And you have to make that call, and sometimes it's a good call and sometimes it's a bad call. And that's just natural in leadership. Every leader faces that, and sometimes they make the right decision and sometimes they don't.
You remind me a lot of me. You want the best for everyone, don't you?
I do. I do what I do because I want to impact people. I want to impact leaders. I want to impact businesses. I want to impact their employees. I want to impact their families. I want to make a big difference in the world somewhere in a story that I probably won't ever even know.
Where's that passion come from?
If I look back, I think my desire to impact people honestly came from someone believing in me. My parents, so I'm bipolar. Most people don't know that and don't openly talk about things like that. When I was younger, got written off, told I was never going to graduate college, wasn't ever going to do anything with my life by a psychiatrist, and had my parents, believe that and listened, I'd be living in their basement today. And instead, they were not going to listen to that and went and did everything they could to figure out how to help me. And instead, I graduated law school. I've been CEO of a business. I'm now leading and guiding businesses, right? So I think the fact that people in my life have believed in me along the way, when my imposter syndrome's kicked in, and it does, just like every other leader who's willing to admit it, that's gotten me past the line. And so I want to believe in others, help them shift their mindsets, get them unstuck and past whatever limiting beliefs are holding them back.
Wow. Good for them, and congratulations.
So thank you. I think we all have our stories. It's a matter of whether or not you're open to sharing them. And the more we share them, you never know who you're going to connect with or be able to help because of it.
Yeah. I think letting people know that they can rewrite it at any point in time too, whether you had a good upbringing, bad upbringing, it went good till your 20s, 30s, whatever. You can always rewrite it at any point in time.
Well, and that's one of the things I love about coaching so much is we all form beliefs in our childhood about how we need to do things or why we need to do things. And they serve us really well. We act certain ways because we needed to survive or to thrive in the environments we grew up in. But those same beliefs don't necessarily get us where we're trying to go next. And at some point we have to ask ourselves, do those still serve us? Does that mindset still serve me? Is it getting me where I want to go? And that's a lot of what comes out in coaching, actually, when I do one-on-one coaching with people is you find out things that these behaviors they built in themselves over the years aren't really useful to them anymore.
How long do most people have to do the coaching for? 3 months, 6 months, a year before they see meaningful results?
When it comes to coaching and it's around like mindset belief, I would say it probably takes a couple months for people to get vulnerable enough. Again, these are people who realize pretty quickly how to check their ego. Otherwise, it could take years or never. When you're looking at groups, though, and coming in, you can get value day one. And I think even from coaching, you can get value day one. There's always an aha moment. The aha moments can get bigger the more time you spend with people, right? The more I'm in a coaching relationship, because I get to know you more intimately, I start seeing and peeling the layers of the onion back. Same with the groups. They get to know your businesses more and understand more about you as an individual. And they ask deeper questions. You get more vulnerable with them. And the aha moments get bigger and bigger. So I think you get aha moments day one, but people don't leave these groups. On average, I think Vistage members are members for 6-7 years because you get so tight and the group becomes your advisory board because they get to know you so well. And they will ask you the questions no one else will be willing to ask you in life.
Is there a limit to how long you can stay? Or you just find that most of them are staying 6-7 years?
Oh, no, there's no limit. I have members. There's a group that I unfortunately took over from a chair who passed away. And there's members in that group that are 20-year members of Vistage,
Oh, wow.
Several of them. It's changed their life, the stories that they tell about what they got out of being in a group. And from one business to the next, they've sold businesses, they've exited, they've stayed in Vistage for the next business they built. And it's shaped who they are as a leader in the companies that they run.
So safe to say they're getting some value out of it.
Yeah. I was a member actually for 6 years myself. I only left to do what I'm doing now. So I would have stayed continuously had I not chosen the path of a chair.
Let me ask you about your biggest success story. It sounds like you have a lot of them, but what would you say are the biggest success stories?
Oh, it's so hard to hone into, and there's so many different types of success stories. Probably the biggest.
Just narrow it down to the top 100.
Probably the biggest business success story. And I will go there because I'm guessing most of your listeners want to hear, okay, I do this. What does it do for my business? How did I grow it? I'm a member who started at $2 million, grew her company to $30 million while she was a member of a Vistage group. But then had an opportunity. She was planning to exit within a couple of years, had an opportunity to buy a company to create value, make it bigger right before a sale and exit, and brought it to the group. It turns out that, half the group had a lot of tough questions to ask her. There was a lot of challenge, and it really made her think long and hard about something that, frankly, she probably would have said, hey, this is a really great opportunity, and gone straight after it if it weren't for the group. Ended up slowing down the process, doing a lot of extra due diligence she wouldn't have done, realized it was a bad move, didn't do it. And it opened up the door actually for an even better opportunity to make one more different acquisition before the sale. And it added millions of dollars to her exit because of it. So from a financial standpoint and a business growth standpoint, the impacts can be significant. I will give you one other story because it's on a very different spectrum. I had a member who had been a member of the group for several years, and he had cancer and was still building his business because business was who he was. Found out, and he was a fighter. He was never going to give in to this disease. Finally came to the realization that he only had a month or two left to live. And so he dove in with the group of, how do I leave a lasting legacy? It wasn't about a bucket list of things he wanted to do. It was, how do I make sure my business and my message and everything I've done in life lives on past me? And that was probably the deepest issue we have ever processed in any of my groups. But we helped him build that legacy and make sure that it spread and led that impact he was looking for in the last moments of his life.
That's fantastic.
So it can really spread across the spectrum of the way we impact leaders, their businesses, and their lives.
It sounds like a great support group no matter what. Because if someone just needs help with the team, like you're saying, leaving a lasting legacy, I'd say that's way deeper. If we all encounter stuff in business. And if you've never encountered it before, I remember when I started off, it's just like, how do I go from here to here? And then you go from A to B, then B to C, C to D. At every level, there's levels. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, I can answer A, B, and C now, but you're now at a new plateau. Not a new plateau, you're at a new level. And if you've never done it before, which you haven't because this is the first time, you're just constantly doing that.
Yeah, and that's the reality is we all grow past our own strengths. And so what do we do to get past our knowledge or experience cap to be able to grow past it? And I think the leaders who really scale companies big versus the ones who, kind of stay at whatever size they cap at are the ones who address that. They realize they've got to upskill the team around them. They've got to be constantly challenged. And because they have that willingness to be vulnerable, receive feedback, not reinvent the wheel, not let their ego get in the way, they can scale their companies well beyond their own knowledge cap or experience cap because they're smart enough to realize that. It's those who don't, who get in their own way. And honestly, they get to a certain size and that's where they stay. And you see those companies plateau until they either recede and die or they eventually sell out at whatever that capped level is. And that's where it went.
I appreciate the honesty, but that's kind of sad too, because I'm there's people I'm thinking of who I used to look at them going, oh man, they just have, wow, look at their business. But 10 years later, it's like they've been here for 9 years. Like there's clearly something they're not doing wrong. There's clearly something they're doing wrong because in 2 or 3 years they went from like zero to a large amount, and then for 9 years they stayed there. And like you said, maybe they're comfortable, maybe they're happy, maybe whatever, but at the same token, it's like, I don't care what level you're at. Why would you want to be stuck at the same level for more than a couple of years unless you're trying to figure it out?
And typically they just need someone or group to help them get unstuck. And that's why you asked me earlier, why do you cross the line and sometimes maybe invest in someone that you see a little too much ego in? It's because sometimes I see that spark and that possibility in them that maybe I can help them get past that stuck. And I want to see, I may be really believing with their company or what it does. It's really inspiring to me. And I'm like, how do I help them get that scale and that growth? And maybe, just maybe, I can work with them or the group can work with them and get through to them in a way that I'm not sure whether or not we can, right? So you take that chance.
Yeah, there's so many good people out there, and I think they do want the best for people. But I heard long ago, we don't have any business problems. We have personal problems that show up in business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, that hits.
Yeah, it's all about people. At the end of the day, the core root of everything we deal with is people, whether it's your employees, your customers, right? So business challenges all tie into people issues. So, that's how you have to look at it and think about it, really.
You had mentioned some of them also grow the teams. Is there any secrets you found that the company's growing the most? Do they do these 3 things with the teams constantly? I mean, I would think all companies want to reinvest in the team. I know not all do, but what if you have people that you're reinvesting in them, but they don't appreciate the training?
So you might have the wrong players on your team if they're not appreciating or doing something with what you're investing in them. So that's a question that you need to think through. Do they fit your culture? If your culture is one of investing in people and yet they're not taking advantage, they may not be a culture fit. You asked me what the things are. So it is investing in people. It's leadership development. It's giving them the opportunities to grow. That's why I love Vistage so much. Even though I don't have every possible group type there are group types for leaders at all levels, right? Even to high potential team members that are going to be leaders someday. They have that peer group environment and that makeup for all of those different stages along your career. The companies that I see that are doing the best are finding some sort of coaching or leadership development for all of their executive team members. They're finding high potential employees that they see fitting succession plans, and they are developing and investing in them. They're also not spending a ton of time developing and investing in people that are the poor performers. I hate to say it, a lot of companies think that that's where they should be developing people, trying to either build the skills or, help bring them up to speed. And if you're investing in your C players, you're not going to be super successful. In fact, those are the people that you need to either realign to a better role that's better fitting for them, or work out because they're really not a fit for your company, but they're going to be a great fit somewhere else. And they're going to be happy somewhere else. They're not likely happy in your organization either. It's not fun to go to work and not be fulfilled and not feel like you're performing well and fitting well into a role. So I think that's a fear a lot of leaders have. And having those tough conversations and letting go, and that realignment actually is really best for people in general. And your high performers love it because they want to work and be around people who are going to challenge and be high performers too. So those are probably the things I would say is they're developing their leaders who are, they're A players. They're willing to have the tough conversations and let go of and realign the C players. And they have a high performing culture of excellence that is all about challenge and growth.
Where do you find more of the A and B players?
So first of all, the A and B players, what's an A player here might be a C player somewhere else and vice versa. So it's really important not to label people as an A player or C player in general. It's really about fit to a culture, to a company, to a role. And aligning those things. So you have to be clear on who you are as a company, your culture first. You have to be clear on what the role is. And when you are looking for A players, you are looking for someone that is a good fit for both of those things. And you are looking to make sure you're excluding people who aren't a good fit. If you're desperate to fill a role and you fill it right away, you are going to take somebody in who is not a good fit. You have to be willing to wait out the time to find the right person. One of my members says this, and I think it's genius, which is, yes, we're in a talent shortage, but I don't have to find all of the people who can fill this role in the world. I have to find the one that is the right fit for me right now. And that person exists out there. So it's not about being desperate and bringing somebody in. It is about really finding that right person. And when you're advertising, seriously, advertise to exclude people. Talk about who you are in a way that the people who aren't that are going to go, ooh, that's not for me. And the people who are going to go, oh my gosh, it is. And if your environment is one of challenge and grit and hard, make your ad look like that. Make it sound challenging, hard, and grit. The people who like that are going to want to be in that environment and they're going to call you up. And the ones who don't, hey, guess what? You're not going to interview people who aren't a good fit.
You're sharp. Thank you for all of this.
So, well, it's not my knowledge. Again, that's the thing. I'm around so many different business leaders and their ideas. Most of what I'm sharing, it's nothing original for me. It's things I'm hearing from my members, right? It's the things that I take what I like and leave the rest from the best things I hear from the people that I work with, or for the speakers that I get to bring in through Vistage and the ideas that they expose my members and clients to think bigger and address, larger concepts and blind spots, because Vistage has that available to it too. We bring in these top-notch speakers. They're not about your typical leadership development. They're about big concepts that CEOs should be thinking about, being exposed to. How do you find that right talent, right? And taking those pieces and figuring out actionable ways to implement them in your company.
Well, you're great at presenting it.
So, like I said, it's been my theory all my life. Take what you like and leave the rest. Expose yourself to as many ideas as possible and integrate what you can where it makes the most sense for what you're doing.
So I want to flip it back. We touched on it a little bit earlier. You said growing up, you had some challenges that you did overcome. Congrats again. Tell me more about you and what your parents had to go through to get you to this point. Let's say up to college.
Well, up to college, I honestly was a high-performing achiever in a private school, traveling the country as a debate captain, straight A's, all of that. That's actually, I think, what almost in a weird way led to the downfall. I was probably living on a manic high most of my high school career, and I didn't even realize it or understand it. And it's when I went off into the real world and had no support for the first time that I actually faced my first real episode. So it was the first few years of kind of what most people would be in college, partying, having fun, that I was really struggling. Thankfully, even though it was such a severe case and I had to try a gazillion drugs on the market and all kinds of other things to get to the right place, I did not live with it like many people do, where they're, struggling to figure out a stable place for years and years. It was really a couple of years for me to really get my life back together, graduate college, and then shot up from there. And I'm lucky and grateful enough I haven't had an episode in over 20 years. But I do a lot of things to make sure to take care of myself on a regular basis so that I put myself in that position.
I love hearing that because, like you said, mindset, so many people they just don't believe. You could see, it's one of the reasons I started the show. I wanted to have the most inspirational people that, the news is just nothing but crap. I want to bring a message of good to people. And you know what I mean? It's like all we get is inundated with this negative stuff. It's like you're a walking, talking case study of success right here. And it's like, why isn't this on the news?
Well, and that's why I love mindset work. And I think that's why, this is my calling and where I sit doing a lot of the coaching and the work I do, because, it's easy to take a cap or, and be stuck in life with some answer or something label someone puts on you or that you put on yourself. And the reality is you can deal with lots of really tough things if you can work on the mindset piece. That's how you get through hard challenges in life. It's all about finding, the mindset that gets you through to the next stage. And you make much more impact in the world if you can stay in the right headspace, than giving up and holding back. And anybody who's a victim to their own mindset, they're capped too.
Yeah, it's not a good place. That's why I was saying, regardless of the amount or what's going on with the team or this, that, the other thing, it's just like, I always like to be moving forward.
And there's always a way. I don't care how bad it is. There's always a way to move forward and grow. But you have to be willing to look for it and to fight for it.
It's one of the reasons I wrote my 4th book over 5 days on Thanksgiving. Because, people go, oh, you can't do that in less than a week. So I knew once I do, I can forever and always use it as an example. Like, you can't watch this.
Yeah. And I think that's a great thought process, right? Like being challenged to say, nope, can't, can really inspire people. And like I said earlier too, it can also, label someone and hold them back. So it's great that you took on that challenge and that's your personality type. Let me show you.
Yeah. If no one else wants to be an example, we still can, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you said you checked out the questions beforehand, so you ready for 17?
I didn't memorize the numbers or the answer, so go for it.
It's okay. Yellow or black?
Yellow.
Let's see. You think it'll stop on yellow?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Oh, look at that. Interesting how that works. So, if you weren't doing this, what's a hobby of yours that you'd love to pursue full-time?
Oh, that's so interesting. So if it's a hobby and it's something that's supposed to be fun, I love the outdoors. I love walking. I love kayaking, things like that. I don't know that I'd want to pursue any of those full time though. Like nothing is exciting full time. If I wasn't doing this, it probably would be me investing in a nonprofit or some other type of cause where I could make an impact, frankly. It wouldn't be in just a straight hobby. So I serve on the board of my synagogue. I've gotten involved with Susan G. Komen in 3-day walks. So I have a passion for helping people around, and I would probably find some other way to do it.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. We're going to thank our sponsor and come back for the imperfect action round. You've heard me say every business needs a book, including yours. And it's true. And that's why I'm launching my new book at eapublishingmethodbook.com so you can learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. But you know what? Don't take my word for it. Take it from a few of my authors, like Lori.
And I went from having an idea and a possibility to actually getting my book published.
Or Catherine.
Thank you for making my mom #1 best-selling author.
Or Mary Alice.
What he got done for me in 3 days regarding my book launch, unmanageable.
John Cody.
I've worked with Mario over the phone and online, and he's been very helpful in getting me where I needed to go with promoting my books.
Rocio.
There's no way in the world I would have been able to do this with somebody else. I've attempted it in the past. It didn't serve me. As a matter of fact, I ended up more frustrated than anything. So this has been a very seamless process.
Adele.
If you're looking for an amazing business coach, I highly recommend Mario Ficini.
Or Bill Benner.
I can't make a higher recommendation than to work with Mario Ficini. He has been great for me, and right now I won't work with anybody else except for Mario.
Hey, their words, not mine. Visit eapublishingmethodbook.com to get your copy, and I look forward to hearing your transformation as our next video success story. Once again, that's eapublishingmethodbook.com. And we're back with the imperfect action round. Aviva, are you ready to take imperfect action?
Sure.
All right, I got 3 rapid-fire questions for you. The first one is, what is the fastest path to the cash?
I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, getting beyond yourself. You have to be able to willing to delegate and elevate others and go for, more collaboration amongst the group, get more ideas.
Number 2, what is the biggest problem you see your prospects making and the fastest way for them to fix it?
Biggest problem. They're not willing to have the tough conversations. I think this goes back probably to a lot of the answers I had earlier, but it's true. Fear. They live in fear of what could go wrong. And so they don't take action. Inaction is probably the biggest thing I see. They get, even after they go through a process where they process an issue and get new ideas, they're still afraid of what might happen and don't act. So inaction. That's my answer.
Number 3, what's the best way to maximize customer lifetime value?
Honestly, build relationships. It is all about being willing to just get to know people and understand what their needs are and the willingness to pivot over time. Do not hold on to what worked yesterday because that might not be the right solution for your customers tomorrow. So continuing to check in, get feedback, and get to know them and really build those strong relationships.
Very good. Where would you like people to learn more?
Vistage.com. You can learn all about peer groups. Vistage is global. So I know I'm in Marietta, but it's in 40 countries worldwide. We have over 45,000 members. So if what I'm talking about is exciting to you, go to Vistage.com, check it out, and learn about all the different groups and the different chairs that are out there all over the world. If you're interested in learning more about coaching, of course, you can check me out or my show Beyond the Comfort Zone on YouTube and my LinkedIn. You can connect with me there. Would be wonderful.
Very good. Well, Aviva, it was an absolute pleasure. I got a lot out of this and I wish we had more time, but thank you for sharing what you did.
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to learn more about your background as well.
All right, Expert Authority World, we have another great episode here today. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day, and God bless. You're already the expert, but have you transformed your expertise into a tangible asset that will generate qualified leads while increasing profit for you 24/7? And if so, how well are you promoting it? With my new book, The Expert Authority Effect Publishing Method, I take you through my process step by step. Visit eapublishingmethodbook.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Visit eapublishingmethodbook.com to get started now. Once again, that's eapublishingmethodbook.com. Thanks for listening to today's episode. I would love to know what you enjoyed most from it. If you haven't done so already, I invite you to connect with me on my new LinkedIn. You can go to it directly at eainterviews.com/LinkedIn. Once again, that's eainterviews.com/LinkedIn. Lastly, check out the full eainterviews.com site for complete show notes, the full interview video experience, links to the resources we mentioned, and more. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you on the next one.